Well, welcome to another exciting and explosive episode of Line Chasers Radio. Of course, I am your humble host, Alfonso Ashworth. Um, we got a great show lined up for you today. Um, of course, this is the time of year to chase rainbows and waterfalls, and of course, fireworks. So, of course, today we are going to be doing fireworks today. Of course, this is just one example of some of the things that you may see this time of year. Your fireworks displays are going to be all over this nation and all over the world. Of course, we will be celebrating our Independence Day soon. 4th of July, as it may be called. And of course, that is the day that this nation won its independence. So we're going to be talking about how to photograph fireworks. Of course, you may see them in many shapes and forms and speeds, and this is just one more example of how wonderful this can be if it's done right. But of course, we are Light Vision Art Q&A, and we're going to also discuss how to photograph fireworks and make them interesting, not just from a viewer standpoint, but from your perspective. We're going to discuss how to properly set up the shots to get these type of images, multiple frames on one frame, without having to, of course, do Photoshop. We're also going to have our co-host, my co-producer, as I call her. She's going to be coming on in just a few minutes to give her tip of the day. She's going to do that earlier. She's got some other things to take care of. This is that time of year. Summer is very busy. Of course, we're going to be talking about that and some other things. And so Claudia Richardson will be coming on in just a few minutes. We will get her on air, and she's going to be talking about some tips as well. But as I said earlier, I'm your humble host, Alfonso Ashworth, and this is Light Vision Art Q&A. Of course, you can find the show every Saturday from 10 to 6. You can also catch me during the weekdays. I do a show out of Washington, D.C. That's called Line Chasers Radio with Lonnie Poindexter. I am his guest host on Wednesdays. You can catch me there. And if not, you will always find me in the classroom. I teach a 16-week photography course called Light Vision Art, The Educated Eye. I see that Jeff Coleman has dropped in. He's one of my students. We are getting ready to do some things in that classroom that's going to be awesome. Of course, you'll find me there in the classroom. Along with that, you get a workbook that comes along with the class. But as always, I would not leave this show without mentioning one of my favorite people, one of my favorite companies to talk about is WeBeLenses.com. You can find Jim and Marion Young. Now, this is their company. If you need high quality lenses, if you need lenses that will make you proud, to make you feel confident, then I highly recommend that you try out WeBeLenses.com. They will get you their lenses at a very reasonable rate, and they will get them to you on a timely manner. Claudia is already in our chat. You can join our chat as well. If you want to join the chat, if you want to get in and ask a question or make a comment, you can do so by typing in the viewer question and suggestion box. If you would like to be a caller on the show, say that you want to talk to someone on air, you may have something that you want to say and cannot get it typed in enough, then you can call it 615-547-3355, or you can email me at lightvisionart@gmail.com. That's just a couple of ways that you can get in on the show and be a part of the show. But as I was saying earlier, I got my co-producer waiting in the wings. I can see that she is sitting there waiting. We're going to bring her on because we want to talk about some things that she wanted to discuss before she had to skedaddle. But of course, welcome to the show, Claudia Richardson. How you doing, Claudia?
Good morning, Al. Great to be here.
Well, let me fix your echo, okay?
Okay.
There we go. That way. Okay, hey, welcome back to the show. Of course, this is that time of year that we were discussing just, earlier about fireworks. And, of course, I want to congratulate you. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you a hand clap. I want to congratulate Claudia because she is the winner of our Photographer of the Month with a wonderful shot that she did. And of course, I want to talk about that shot. Let me bring it up so we can discuss that, Claudia. This is Claudia's shot that she was able to win photo of the month in our guild group at the Wilson County Photography Guild. And the competition was like amazing. Yeah, fierce to say the least. Jeff had a shot that I'll always remember. That shot was a flamingo.
Yes,
I don't know if Jeff.
If he has it available, see what I was up against. Well, it was beautiful.
Yeah, if he could, maybe he can email it to me, and if we get time, I would like to show it on air. But let's discuss this shot. How did you? Of course, this may be part of your tip of the day. What was your challenge, and how did you pull this shot off?
Timing was everything on this one. And like I told you before, a lot of strawberries got harmed in the process, right? Getting the right moment for them to hit the milk was totally covered in milk, and having some green to show, not just the bottom end or something. Just have it all perfect timing. That was hard to do. From letting go, dangling them over the milk and letting go, and I had my camera on the tripod with a shutter release in my hand. Flash on the right side. Flash on the right side of the camera with a diffuser on it. Camera far enough away because it makes a big splash and splatters all over the place. So if you try this at home, you may want to ask permission first, or lay the whole area out with big beach towels. I recommend. It makes a big mess, and have your equipment far enough away. Like your camera, zoom in this case because you have it all over the camera. But get in the right moment. Have plenty of shots where the strawberry was halfway in the air, sunk all the way in the milk. But I got this one, and I wrote me down what it was. It was 1/200th of a second with f11 at ISO 100. But timing.
So. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next was, what were your settings? And you make it sound like it was so easy. This is not easy to do, folks. Trust me. I've been in the photography business for 30 years or plus, and I can remember in terms of commercial photography, I can tell you right now, that shot is not easy to pull off. And if you would like to maybe ask Claudia more questions, I'm sure that she would leave some way to get in touch with her. Either you can get in touch with her through the show, or you can get in touch with her through my website at Life Vision Art Gmail at Gmail, and I will connect you with Claudia. But there are some other shots that you did as well that I want to talk about that has something to do with today's topic, and that is capturing explosive events like fireworks and lightning and things that so happen so quickly many times that you cannot capture it well with the aid of just the naked eye. And this is a shot that you did last year, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead and tell the audience what you had to do to get this.
Yeah, that was actually the night before 4th of July. So July 3rd, I scouted out the area where I'd planned on taking my pictures from, and it happened to be during a thunderstorm. You can see on the top right corner a little bit of the balcony above me, so it was kind of safe location. And it's nice if you go the day, or if you scout it out before, so you can see if there's any street lights that are going to be interfering with your shots, if there's, where a good area is to set up, where you're going to be safe. So for me, it was really perfect the night before with the thunderstorm. I had practice with having the shutter open for 30 seconds, or even on bulb, and covering up the lens with, I usually use my gray card to cover it up. But this was during the, I guess, peak of the storm. It was a 30-second exposure, and I wrote it down, f13 and ISO 100, because 100 on the tripod you can absolutely do, because you're not moving. You don't have to worry about a high ISO and a quick shutter speed. So you can set your camera to 100 real easy. And
okay, of course, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say the following night, of course, is when you captured shots like this.
Yes.
With the fireworks.
Yes.
Same location, am I correct?
Correct, same balcony, yeah. And you see, I put the palm leaves in the foreground to have a little bit of something in the foreground, not just fireworks. And I think it adds to the shot. The building, the bridge, and the little palm tree leaves in the front.
Yeah. And of course, this is another shot of the same area. And of course, this looks like either a multiple shot, or did this all happen at once? Or was this like a multiple?
This is, I usually stuck with the 30-second exposures that evening. So they probably happened after one another. I really don't remember today, but you capture different explosions, different lights.
Different things for different fireworks. And you were talking about capturing something in the foreground. And like, I'm showing this shot right here because this is a live, like a video image of a fireworks in slow motion. Yeah. And you can see how the multiple shots are coming and going.
And just imagine,
they sort of happen.
30-second exposure on that, how much you can capture on one picture.
Right. And this is sort of faster, like you may naturally see it in real time. And of course, this is something you may capture in one shot.
Correct. Yes.
This may be something you capture, but it's multiple exposures. It's not just one firework at one time. So this is what we're going to talk about a little this morning, on how to do this. And I want to show just a really quick video. So I'll bring you back in just a second, Claudia. I'm going to show a short video on how to do this with your SLR. I'll bring you back in just a second. And, folks, this is not something that, you don't have to be a professional to do this. You don't have to be somebody that's, professional photographer with all the quote unquote best equipment. What you need is an opportunity to get set up. Claudia just mentioned that. Make sure you scout your location before, maybe even a day before if you can. But by all means, make sure you get there in plenty of time to set up your tripod. And this little short video is going to tell you what I think is one of the really good methods to use. Hello again. My name is Alfonso Ashworth, and I teach a course called Light Vision Art. Today, we're going to give you a small video tip on how to properly shoot fireworks. Now, of course, you will need some things to make this happen. One of the things you need is a great tripod, one that will allow you to position your camera in three-dimensional space so that you're able to tilt, shift, and turn. Another thing you will need is a cable release, something that will allow you to be hands-free so that you're not touching that camera during the exposure time. Thirdly, you need a camera that will allow you to manually set your exposure. Now, there's a nice feature on your camera called bulb. On some cameras, it's on a dial, it may be on a button, but whatever the case, it's part of your shutter speed. So locate that and turn it to bulb. Put your lens on manual focus because you're going to focus to infinity, which means that you're focused on a point, and that in itself will allow you to have sharp images. And as I said earlier, you need a great object in the foreground or the background. It may be people, it may be a bridge or buildings. Whatever the case, it's going to be part of your exposure. So calculate your exposure. Now, whatever that is for your foreground and background, you may have to experiment with that. But let's say it's 30 seconds. So over 30 seconds, I'm going to press my shutter release, lock my shutter open, and then I'm able to cover up the lens. Now, while I'm doing this, no light is getting to my lens. But each time that I do this, I'm making an exposure. And when I cover it up, it no longer is exposing. Say, for instance, the fireworks are happening. I make my exposure for the fireworks, then I cover up. Either case, I'm controlling the time, and I'm controlling the exposure. Now, the next fireworks may not happen for several minutes, but in that case, when they do, I remove, make my exposure, and as I'm doing this, each time I'm layering each firework exposure on top of another. And as you can see, once I do this, the exposure is over, and I'm ready to now see my work of art. I hope that this tip helps along with the other information that I provide. If you want to visit my website for other tips, you can go to http://alfonsoashworth.com, or you can visit my Light Vision Art page, which is lightvisionart.simdiff.com. So thank you very much. Happy shooting. There you have it, folks. That was a great video tip that you can use, of course, and Claudia gave you some tips as well. We're going to bring her back on the screen. First of all, welcome Claudia back. Welcome back, Claudia.
I'm back. Great.
All right. What did you think of that little short video? Was that something you think would be useful?
Yeah, very useful. Very useful. At the guild meeting, Al, you had brought in a baseball cap, you remember? And
yes,
you used this to hang over the lens to darken it. So, for all of you that wear those caps, just hang it on the lens. Let me see if I get my camera and everything up here. During the exposure on the tripod, dark. More fireworks,
there you go.
bring it out. There's another tip. Handy to have. Don't have to carry anything extra.
There you go. And anything that you can use to block that shutter, to block the light, can be called a shutter. And I'm going to show your images just once more. This is, of course, your lightning shot that you did the evening before the fireworks. And then
Yeah.
later, that the next evening, you were able to capture fireworks along with some foreground image. And then, of course, you added and changed your composition for more
Hmm.
fireworks. And then, of course, you had the multiple angle of fireworks. Of course, I want to thank Claudia for coming on with her tip of the day. I know that she's got other things to do. Is any last words or anything you want to say? Of course, let me say something before you do. We're not going to have a guild meeting next month. So,
Right.
we're not going to post our guild meeting information today, but you can visit our website at wcpgonline.org. And Claudia is probably going to post that in just a second. She's always handy dandy about doing those sort of things. So there you have it. We just posted. It is www.wcpgonline.org. So there's no excuse for connecting with us. Claudia, thank you very much. And I hope that you have a very wonderful and productive day.
Yes. Why don't we let everybody know if you do some great fireworks shots on 4th of July? Why don't you send them into Al's email, and we'll show them next after 4th of July.
That is a great
You know,
idea. See, that's why I have
show after.
that's why I have you as my co-producer, because that was a great idea. If, yes, Claudia just said, if you do get some great fireworks shots, email them to me at livevisionart@gmail.com, and we will show them or try to show them on our next show,
Yeah.
or not the next show, but the show after the 4th of July. All right. Thank you very much, Claudia.
That should be July
Appreciate
9th.
you. Yeah, July the 9th. Thank you. I
Have a great
salute you.
weekend.
All right. Of course, that was Claudia Richardson, and I gave her a great hand clap. If you would like to be a part of the show, if it's something that you would like to take part in, and we've had many guests on, we got many guests to come. We welcome you to call in. You can call in at 615-547-3355 or email me at livevisionart@gmail.com. I see that Jeff Coleman is in the house. This is a tough weekend. This is it is a very tough weekend because we have Bonnaroo happening. We have other things that are going on. We have the CMA Fest that's happening in our community. We have, of course, spectacular weather. I mean, you cannot beat the weather. And I just find it quite amazing that this time of year, people chase a lot of things. They chase all sorts of events, air shows. I mean, we had just had an air show here. The Air Force. Well, matter of fact, we just lost one of our brave warriors, one of the Blue Angels. We lost recently. Matter of fact, it was here in near my communities where he went down, and we want to honor our brave men and women in uniform. I always try to give them kudos wherever I can, no matter what I'm doing. If I'm on radio, television, or if I'm on this broadcast, we honor our men and women in uniform. Natural light can be very challenging. And one of the things that challenges you to when you're photographing light shows or fireworks shows or anything that requires long exposures is ambient type light. Now, Claudia briefly mentioned, scouting out a location, but make sure that you don't have light that's going to interfere with your exposure, like street lights or car lights. automobiles passing by, or housing maybe nearby, like a residential area, or even city lights. And as we discussed just a minute ago, so that ambient or natural light could be even celestial objects like the moon, or maybe it's a full moon, and that could be a problem for you. But make sure that you have a couple of things before you do this. One, like I said, make sure you have a great shutter release. And that could be a remote shutter like this one where it attaches to your camera, or it could be a release that's more like something that would be uh, a radio signal. Now, radio signal remotes tend to be more expensive. But if you don't have a good tripod, if you have a poor tripod, now tripods come in all shapes and sizes. We recommend that you scout that out as well. Get you a really good tripod. You'll probably buy the head for the tripod separately. So shop for the type of tripod head that you like. I like the 3-way pan head, like that I was showing you in the video earlier. And then make sure that you have other things that you will need to help you pull off that great shot. But like I was saying, that ambient light, the man-made light can be a problem. You could be in a building that has more light than you realize that's going to interfere with your exposure. So get in a position to where you can turn off or, position yourself. Use your lens hood. That's another thing to use to block light. Now, we've talked about this many times over the course of this show. Time in my class is you gotta have lenses with really good apertures to work with. Now, that doesn't mean always that you have wide open apertures, but you need that available to you because you never really know when that's going to come in handy, whether it be daylight or night, evening, twilight time, or whatever that case may be. Make sure that you have the proper apertures to work with. For shots like fireworks, you really want time to be on your side. Aperture is great, but time is probably more important when you're talking about fireworks. So I recommend you understand that it could take exposures of 15 to 20 seconds at intervals, or it may be exposure times that may be less than 2-second intervals. But whatever that exposure cycle is, which is the time that you push the shutter release from the time that the exposure starts until it ends, we call that an exposure cycle. So make sure that you calculate that prior to starting to shoot. You don't always have an opportunity to make changes on the fly, especially if you're working in the dark, like at a fireworks show. I mean, most of the time they're going to do these fireworks shows are going to be at night. So you better have all these things sort of in your brain or documented before you start. I don't know if Jeff has any comments that he would like to make. He's the only one right now in our chat. But of course, we will have viewers that will go back at some point and look at this later. And just for if you missed that earlier video, or if you missed any of the topics that we were discussing earlier, this is some of the things we talked about. We were talking about fireworks and fireworks displays and how to photograph them. And now this is one that's in slow motion, so you can sort of see how things come and go very quickly. Fireworks can be sometime last a few seconds, and sometimes several seconds. But any case, you can see on this video how quickly they come and go. And if I show you the video in real time, you can sort of see how things happen so fast. But as a photographer, your objective is to show dynamics in terms of the shot. Like I said, have a great foreground subject. It could be people, it can be a bridge, it can be buildings or whatever. But afterwards, you're going to be amazed at what you can capture if you would do this exercise and do it properly. And I'm going to show this video once again in case you missed it. There you go. And of course, we have someone that I want to bring on. I see him in the queue. Is my friend and fellow photographer, Jeff Coleman. I'm going to try to get his image up. Hey, Jeff, how you doing today, sir?
Morning, Al. Don't let me know if I'm getting any feedback. Don't have my earbuds in.
I'm not getting any. I mean, you may be getting some. I got your image that you sent me, and of course, I'm going to try to get it on the screen. Let's see if I can get it there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which email you were supposed to.
Yeah, you sent it to the right email. I'm just trying to get it saved so I can get it up here. But talk talk to us about the fireworks idea, the thing about shooting fireworks. What do you have any suggestions in that area about shooting fireworks?
Well, you've went over several of the key things. Is a steady tripod. You've got to have a a release mechanism of some type. Because if you're touching the camera at all, you're going to get camera shake. Um, and the light pollution is a big thing. I know it fireworks is not as easy to shoot as you would think, and really get a nice shot. It's a lot of timing,
Right.
listening to the boom. Um, but light pollution is a killer around it, and there's a lot of times there's no way to get around it. I shot. I try to shoot Nashville every once in a while. Half the time I can't never get down there because we wait so late to go.
Right.
There's always a lot of industrial buildings and things around that it puts out a lot of light that you really don't want in your scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what about smoke?
you're,
What
a
about
lot of times
smoke?
if you're
Ain't that enough?
you're in a crowd, then you can't really set up your tripod. Uh, so it's best to be out on your
Yeah.
own, away from people.
As much as possible.
Right.
As much as possible. It's not always easy when you're talking about going to these events. But let's talk about a shot that you had at the guild meeting that I thought was like a really great shot. Um, tell the audience what, how did you? It's not a matter of how did you do it. It's what brought you to your attention to actually push that shutter release.
I just
That's a great shot, Jeff.
watching these flamingos, and it was a very overcast day, um, and I was having trouble with white balance too. This one I pulled it off of auto white balance and threw it into I think cool white because I just couldn't get a good shot. Um, it shot like 1,000 ISO because again it was so gloomy that day, and it was cool too. And the animals weren't moving around a lot, so they were hiding, I guess, more or less, but relaxing. I was close to a fence, so I had a 500 millimeter lens on. It's 150 to 500, and zoomed in fully. I think this is shot at like 6.3. Um, it's as wide as I could get the lens open on that day.
Right.
So I can't remember on this one. Basically I manually focused on the eyes and made sure the eyes was in dead focus and just popped away. It's exactly the way pretty much exactly the way it came out of the camera. It's not cropped or anything.
I think the fact that you had an overcast, gloomy day sort of helped.
Yeah. Right.
That diffused light helped you with your exposure, and it gave us soft shadows. Notice the shadows on the subject are so soft and so subtle, but it still has a three-dimensional look that you would not had if you had used a flash or some other type of strobe or something like that. And I think it turned out well, and I think that shot received a lot of praise as well. I'm going to give you a hand clap on that shot, Jeff. And I know that shot will be very appreciated by others as well. Anything else you got planned in terms of what's coming up for you and your photography? What are you working on other than being in class?
Well, we're planning a trip to the beach, so we're going to get some beach shots, hopefully, here at the 4th. So we're
Okay.
I don't know if I'll don't make the show, I thought about trying to shut the sign on at the beach, but I don't know if we'll probably be in transit at that time, the time you're on.
Yeah.
But we'll try.
Yeah. What beach are you going to?
Perdido Key, which is,
Okay.
if you're familiar with Pensacola, Orange Beach area, it's right between.
Right.
And, we like it in that area. Every once in a
Yeah.
while, I get to go over when the Blue Angels are down there. We go over and watch them. So, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I got some pretty decent shots. Didn't have a very big lens at the time, so but I would I'd like to go shoot them again. It was really bad.
Right.
But they didn't get to do their run here in Nashville because they are a great group of guys to watch. They're very.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking about that earlier, how we honor our brave men and women in uniform, and we forget about how dangerous of a task of what some of them have to do every day, how dangerous that is until you lose one. And then it's a sobering reminder.
They make the machines do things that are they really made to do that? But when they can stand one of them things pretty much up on the end and just walk it down the runway out there, it's just amazing, the power. And, it's got to be a steady hand too on the throttle to do that.
Right, right. Well, it's not for everyone, but thank goodness that does not apply to photography. Anyone and everyone can find a place in photography. And it does not have to be life-threatening unless you do something stupid. And I tell photographers, especially that are trying to do something that's extraordinary, the very first thing you want to do is make sure that safety comes first. Whether you're on the beach, whether you on the waiting for a fireworks show, safety should be paramount. And keep your distance. I just recently read a story where someone fell into one of the geysers at Yellowstone, of course, and they died. And we keep hearing story after story where people go and do things that are just putting their lives at risk to try to be superhuman.
Yeah.
They want that great shot. They want that great video to put on YouTube. They want to get those million hits, but they forget that they are fallible. They're not immortal. And what happens, you wind up falling in a hole or falling in a geyser or falling off of a building trying to impress people. So, be careful above all. And secondly, have fun doing it. If you're gonna go, have fun. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm not that brave, so you won't see me hanging on top of a television antenna to try to get a shot.
Me either, Jeff.
Post on YouTube, so it's not that important to me.
It's hard.
It's more important.
It's hard. It's hard to get me in an airplane, so I know I'm not going to strap myself to an antenna on top of a building. So, but I know a lot of people who try to do those things, and sometimes it costs them their health, their life, and it's just a tragedy. But of course, I want to thank you for taking your Saturday morning. It is beautiful here in the state of Tennessee.
Yes, and very hot.
And we have and hot, but we have a lot going on. We have the CMA Fest, we have the CMT Awards, then we have Bonnaroo, which is a huge event over here in Manchester, Tennessee. Manchester, do you know the population of Manchester? I bet you it's not 25 or 30,000, is it, Jeff? I don't know exactly their population.
Quadruples during Bonnaroo.
Yeah. I think they were expecting about 80,000 people to flood into this area. And of course, they have sometimes they have too much fun. and they wind up in the caboose.
Yep.
And yeah,
I
so
heard yesterday
it's as a photographer.
about 100 people. So
Yeah, yeah, and for photographers, those can be great times to be alive when you're at these sort of events. But make sure that you don't get caught up into things that could get you in trouble. Trespassing is one of them. Um, you know, getting too close to the action can be another. You don't want to get in people's faces and start trying to force your will on them. So that lens that you said you had, that 150 to, I mean, that 50 millimeter to 500, you say? What was that?
150 to 500.
150 to 500. I thought, wow, that's a great lens if he got a 50 millimeter. But 150 to 500. Now, who makes that one, Jeff?
That's a Sigma, and they actually have a 50 to 500 in that. It's just
Wow.
money. That I didn't.
Yeah, well, always.
Need it. But, it's a very heavy lens. It is for the old A mount Sony, so I have to run an adapter
Right.
to get it to my E mount. But
Yeah.
it does a good job. It's pretty clean shooting lens.
Yeah.
You shoot it a lot of different ways. I do things that you're probably really not supposed to do with it, but sometimes it comes out with pretty good shots.
Yeah.
I will because the focal length, the minimum focal length is about 8 foot. So I'll
Right.
extension tube, a small extension tube on it a lot of times to get on up close.
Right. Well, that's one more tip from my learned individuals that I'm associated with in our guild group, which Jeff is a member and a very active member. I want to welcome Alexis. She has come into our show today. Alexis, if this is the same Alexis is in my class, if I'm not mistaken. But Alexis, welcome. And if you would like to ask a question or make a comment, you can type it in the viewer questions and suggestion box. But you can also go back and look at this show so that you can pick up on some of the things we discussed earlier. Well, Jeff, my friend, my fellow photographer, of course, I really appreciate you taking the time to come in on the show this morning. Saturday morning of all times from 10 to 11 is a very busy time for most people. Claudia Richardson, of course, was on earlier, but she had to leave to go do some things that she's doing in photography. That's what happens when you start becoming a better photographer. You get busy.
Yeah, we're using it as a cool off time. We've been out this morning. It is hot out there.
Yeah. So make sure, that's another thing. Make sure you take plenty of protection. If you're going to be out in the elements, in the sun, make sure you take things to protect yourself, and make sure you keep plenty of fluids going through your body on hot days like this, even in Tennessee where it's humid. But you can have a problem with that as well. Any final thoughts?
No, just happy shooting for everybody. Be safe and keep hydrated.
There you go. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate you,
See you later.
Okay, that was Jeff Coleman. He is one of my present students, but I've known Jeff for a long time in the guild, in our photography group. And this shot that he did right here, I'm going to put it back on the screen briefly. This is one that he had that he showed in our photography group. And it's an awesome shot. Very good shot. And we really appreciate Jeff for doing that. But we're talking about doing fireworks today. Of course, this here was a slow motion video of fireworks that you may see at any fireworks show across America soon. I mean, you may start seeing them today or tonight. That's a slow mo, but this is normally how you see them, of course, in real time, is this right here. And you don't have time to remember what happened. It's like they happen so quickly, they come and go. And as you notice, also you have smoke that's left behind. So we want to talk to you today, and we have been talking about how to capture these images with still photography. We want you to make sure, one, you have a great foreground subject. It may be people, it may be other objects, buildings. Also, make sure that you have all the tools that you're going to need. This is another shot that you can do. There's multiple exposures on one frame. And we talked about that on a video that we showed earlier. Go back and look at that. Claudia showed some of her shots that she did last year prior to a fireworks event. This was the night before of a fireworks show. They had a storm, and she captured this lightning shots. Then the following night, she was able to capture fireworks. And as she said earlier when she was on with her tip, she was able to capture something in the foreground and the background. You can see also that same shot that she changed her composition and was able to catch the water as a reflection in the foreground. And then finally, she was able to capture a multiple frame shot in that same location. So keep in mind that when you're doing this, first of all, scout your location out. Make sure you get a great location. Make sure you get there early enough to set up, because you're going to need a tripod. You're going to need a really good tripod. You're going to need something like a cable release. Now, cable release can be something that you can attach to your camera, or it can be remote, either one, but you're going to need that. And you're going to need a lens that you can manually focus, and focus it to infinity. Now, if you don't know what infinity is, it's the maximum focus distance on your lens. Normally, you just sort of turn it till it gets to where it won't turn anymore, and you will be close to infinity. But then make sure that you find a spot to where the fireworks are going to be best displayed, and then use the techniques that we talked about in the video. And and ultimately and finally, have fun doing it. Don't let anything damper your spirits when you're out having fun with photography, but stay focused, no pun intended. Stay focused on what it is that you're trying to do. This has been a good show. I hope that this show will be something that you can use. If you would like to contact me, you can find me in other ways other than Light Vision Art Q&A, which is something we do every week from 10 to 11 on Saturday mornings. You can also find me during the weekdays on a show called Lion Chasers Radio, which is broadcast live out of Washington, D.C., with the host of the show, Lonnie Poindexter. I am his guest host on Wednesdays, and this show broadcasts all over the nation. You can also find me in the classroom at Light Vision Art, The Educated Eye. Find me there. Come and join us for a 16-week class. Of course, you get to see my ugly mug during the class, and you get a workbook as well. That's a 72-page workbook with chock full of information. But with every box with a hole in it, you need to have good lenses. Now, of course, we recommend you use WeBe lenses at WeBeLenses.com. WeBe lenses will get you your high-quality Canon lenses at a reasonable rate and do it fast. They will get it to you. You can set it up online, and you can pick it up locally, or they will mail the lens to you. but you will have it in time to go and do your shoots. Of course, I want to thank you for being a part of the show today. And as always, we want to go out with a bang. No pun intended. We just want to let you know that photography is for everyone, not just for people with money. You can do it on a budget. You can do it at a time that, heck, you may not have any money in your pocket, and you can still be a really good photographer. So I encourage you to get up off that sofa. After this show is over, if you've been watching this show live, get up off the sofa and go out somewhere and enjoy photography and enjoy the experience that so many people have for so many years. Children, weddings, events, large and small. And you can do this. I mean, it's not something that only people that have been in it for a long time like myself can do. So I encourage you to be a gift to the world. You know, one of the things I like to say is don't expect a gift, but be a gift. So share what you know. Don't be greedy. Don't be selfish. Don't think that you invented something. So if you got a talent, you want to share that talent, I encourage you to do so. And by all means, if you want to donate to my show, you can do so by clicking on the link that says donate. This is all done by volunteers, really. Claudia comes on, Jeff comes on, others have come on the show. And they all give of their time. But we would like to know that you appreciate us. And if you do, if you want us to continue doing this, make a small donation to the show by clicking on the link. I'm Alfonso Ashworth, of course, with Live Vision Art Q&A. And I want to thank you for letting me come into your space, even if it's just for a few moments of your time. Time is valuable, especially to the artist. But I want to thank you for allowing me to come into your space, and we really appreciate that you take the time to allow us to do so. And as always, it's time to go. All things come to an end. God bless you. God bless America. And peace.